Hello, I'm Jonathan Milam here today with a look at some Curry mouthpieces, primarily 4 of them that are the larger, deeper, darker sound, fuller cups, larger drill size, larger backbore and throat. I was on Trumpet Herald recently and I've been looking for quite a while for actually a Curry trumpet flugel mouthpiece. And I've got a very nice Monet. I've got a Trent Austin. I just wanted one more that would kind of fit in between the size of those two. And I noticed that a good fellow, a consistent Trumpet Herald user, was putting several mouthpieces up for sale. And it was 7 Curry mouthpieces. And he offered what I thought was an extraordinary deal, very appealing financially. The only thing was I really did not need 4 cornet mouthpieces. I very rarely play the cornet. But I thought, man, since we're getting a bargain if you bought all of them, I bought all of them. And have been very impressed. And of course, I've read about the Curry British band piece and the DC and the TC trumpet cornet. And I've got a vintage cornet that I've used on videos for years when I was trying to illustrate the larger sound that you could get from a cornet. But now I've got 4 of them, and I thought I would put together a comparison of these different mouthpieces. Actually, however, I am going to start off with a Yamaha piece, which is pretty much like your 7C, which is, to my way of thinking, the very middle range of all mouthpieces. Of course, it is the Yamaha 11C4. Just wish everyone called a 7C a 7C size. But whatever, 11C4 is what the Yamaha Corporation calls this. I'm using the cornet that I've had. In fact, when I made my comeback into trumpet playing, which was probably about 10 years ago, maybe 11 or so. The first thing I did, I bought a little cornet, and I'd been looking at brass pieces online, and I told my wife, I said, I think I can buy almost any decently priced little instrument, polish it, clean it up, take good pictures, and at least get my money back. And so I started off with a $99 Olds Special cornet. It was hideous looking. The lacquer on it was spotty and extremely dirty. And my wife took my 2 daughters for the weekend on a brownie trip into the mountains of North Carolina. And my son, who was about 6 at the time, he and I took the finish off of this. And I gotta tell you, my knuckles were bloody. Trumpets are so much easier to remove lacquer and polish on, but with the cornet, you've got all of these parts that are congested in here. And literally, my knuckles were bleeding by the end of the weekend, but we had a great time. My son and I spent most of Friday night, a good bit of Saturday and Sunday. And frankly, I've had Strad trumpets, I've had Yamaha Pro cornets, or excuse me, Strad cornets, Yamaha cornets, Holton, a ton of great vintage and Olds recording. I don't think anything gets a significantly better tone than this Olds Special. I don't know if it's the nickel silver with the bronze tip that gives it the tone, but I just think the tone is as good as anything else that I've had. Hope you agree. But anyway, this is the Olds Special with a Yamaha, essentially the 7C size. 11C4 is the Yamaha designation. Okay, and one of the Currys that I got, which is not one of the larger mouthpieces, is his P size. For the piccolo, for those of you that play the piccolo trumpet, and it has a cornet lead pipe. Very, well, quite shallow piece, certainly a little less cut than a C. However, with a very comfortable throat, you can play low on this quite easily, and the tonguing, the articulation is very nice. So since I have this at hand, this is the 8.5 is the size that I got, and it is his piece. And when I think of this, I don't know why, but here's what I think of playing with it. It's just a very martial, very cutting, clear sound. And that's just a freebie. Now, another freebie is a deeper piece that I've had for a long time. It's a Mount Vernon 7, not the 7C, but a 7. And this is actually quite a bit like Curry's DC Cup. And this is, I've always enjoyed this mouthpiece, got it on a trade with a horn some time back. But definitely deeper, almost a straight V cup. And again, this is Vincent Bach's 7. No letter after it, just the straight 7. Okay, and since I am now into the deep mouthpieces, I'll tell you what I'm going to play. It is, it's When the Saints Go Marching In, but it starts off in a minor version, and then you do a quick pickup, and you go into a major key, so you're raising it up a third. Essentially, it's C minor to start off with, and it's C major that we'll wind up with a little more articulation. And I'll use this for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, so it'll be 5 of these deeper mouthpieces. This is, again, the Bach 7. That's the Bach 7, quite a fairly deep, straight, almost a straight V mouthpiece. Okay, now we get into the Curry's, and this is his DC. DC, I think it stands for Deep C. Great mouthpiece. Of all that I've got of his, this certainly is one of the more enjoyable, to my way of thinking. Again, that is Mark Curry's DC cornet piece. We go a little bit deeper, and this is his trumpet cornet piece. I'm playing an 8.5 size, but this is the TC. A little bit deeper, and also I believe it has a slightly larger drill, so we've got a little bit larger backbore size. very nice piece is trumpet cornet. Now, one that I've had for years, and it's the vintage cornet. For one thing, it's slightly smaller than his standard mouthpieces. So if you do have a vintage cornet, and long ago they made them about a quarter of an inch shorter, the mouthpieces, this will work to give you the accurate intonation for, say, a vintage con, so on. I believe it's an 18 drill that he uses for this mouthpiece, quite a deep V, very smoky, dark sound. I've said many times, if you want to have the sound of a cornet, not quite the spread, but this is at least somewhat close. Again, this is the Curry Vintage Cornet piece. That's the Curry VC, or Vintage Cornet piece. And lastly, we have the Curry BBC. Big mouthpiece, great sound. And the one thing that I was really impressed with each of these, even though they are larger mouthpieces, larger drill sizes, very deep V type, they still articulate, to my way of thinking, extremely well. I'd always felt like, you lost some articulation with the deeper mouthpiece, but seems to me at least, that these articulate quite well and can actually, with force, get a very ringing tone. I naturally play softly. I'm looking for a dark tone, but you can fill the bell with this and still get a very powerful tone. All right, the BBC. That's the BBC. Real quickly, we'll go back to his DC, the deep C. And again, the deeper BBC again. taken a few minutes there, primarily with the deeper cupped mouthpieces put out by Mark Curry, great mouthpiece maker. He makes mouthpieces for several different boutique customers. Hope that you've enjoyed this. It's always a pleasure to put a video together. Always hoping to share things that we've read and heard about. Hope it's a benefit for you. And I hope as well that you have a great day. Thanks so much for tuning in.